All right, insane gamers and all of our lookers out there. No Look Podcast is back. Your boy Yo Soy ACWeezy, and not a bedhead, but a pool head. The man, goddamn, looking a little rough around the edges. He was hitting the pool a little bit. What's the weather like down there in Florida?
I think it's like 85. It's been 85 and humid AF every single day for the past like 2 months. And if you're a golf fan, at like I am, it's not great weather for golf because A, it's way too fucking hot, and B, the courses could use water more than anything. You hit a ball, you hit a bomb, you know, and you're like, oh, perfect in the fairway. Next thing you know, just rolling 600 yards past that because it's so dry. It's not lush enough.
Yeah, rolling straight through the fairway. You almost got to play a little like 5-10 yards short of the pin too, if it's not going to stick on the green. You know, if you gotta play the roll.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, honestly, the course I used to be a member at, their signature hole, I would say, which is their 14th hole. It's a par 5, has a shitload of water that you have to, shoot over. They actually had to make a temporary hole because their green was like had this infestation, basically a lack of water. So their new green is like 50 yards before their old green. And it's like in like that fairway patch, so the grass is like not as fine as like a putting green should be, and their hole is like triple the size of an actual, golf cup. So it's like easy to get birdie or par on now because all you have to do is just
the
bomb
actual
it down.
pin is like a bigger in diameter.
The actual pin is probably like the size of your, like maybe a little bit bigger than your ring light.
Damn. Better not be missing those 10-footers then.
I mean, you just have to hit it in the vicinity. I mean, of course you have to hit it a little bit harder because it's on like the fairway green, but...
No, that's cool though. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing definitely I like about being out here on the West Coast, or well, California more specifically. It's definitely not as humid as, Florida or even back home in upstate New York. So, it's high 70s, low 80s right now. You're not sweating your balls off, though, you know what I'm saying? Because you know me, Tyler. I mean, we've only golfed together a few times since you picked it back up, but that swamp ass gets a little rancid sometimes. Try to wear those khakis, have a nice fit on, but golly, I'll be bursting through the seams of those things.
Yeah, I mean, you want to jump in a lake, like, that's why I go to the pool every time after work, because I'm literally like, you'll sit in your car and you'll start sweating. And it's like, right. Oh my God, this is the worst. Like this time of year, because it's right before hurricane season, so the humidity is at its highest. That means that, it's obviously not raining in the sky, but it's raining in your ass. And you got that sore ass, and you got mosquitoes coming around there, and, it's not great.
I thought hurricane season was over. I guess not. I guess it's just beginning. Another thing that is just beginning, Tyler, the NBA playoffs. I think we had a great slate of games this weekend. I can't imagine, I can't recall, a first round or first weekend of games for the NBA playoffs that had as many close games. I mean, even if you look at some of the scores, I feel like, one game in particular, the Nets versus Celtics, I feel like that game back and forth was a little bit closer than the end score kind of portrays, I guess, if you will. But we might as well start from the beginning. Saturday, again, Tyler, I'm not going to try to make the time zone adjustment. Was it 1 EST, I think, with the Heat game that kicked off?
Yeah.
Around that time.
Well, I mean, we could even start with the play-in games because,
True.
We didn't even touch on those. I mean, we made our predictions.
Yeah.
I must say that Tyler's shit pumping game of the week is not back. I don't think it's ever been back, but it's not back this week. That's for sure.
Need to tuck that thing back away wherever you put it. I mean, unless you want to kind of you almost have like reverse manifesting power, because anytime you say shit pumping, the complete opposite happens. So if you want to say, the Celtics shit pump the Nets or whatever, they'll probably, the Nets will probably end up blowing them out of the water.
I'm at the point, Austin, where I'm about to just go against with what my gut says, because I honestly think that if I go against it, I might still have the chance, because I said it out loud, that the exact opposite, which is what I truly want, is going to happen.
Right.
But I mean, speaking of the playing games, we had the Wizards versus the Celtics. That was the first one. Very happy, as a Nets fan, that the Wizards lost to the Celtics, and Jason Tatum just went absolutely berserk, 50 points. Guy was playing out of his mind. Obviously, Bradley Beal not 100% healthy, but as a Nets fan, I would much rather play Jason Tatum, with a half-beaten Celtics team than the two-headed beast.
Without Jaylen Brown, if I feel like if Jaylen Brown's in that lineup, you might get a little bit different Celtics team. But yeah, so I mean, you and I, did we both predict we predicted Celtics and Wizards, which
I
came
said
to fruition.
Wizards at first. Hand up, I said it.
What, to win that initial game?
Yeah, but then I went back after you put me in victimization.
But our picks for the overall winners, right? We went Wizards, Celtics, and then did we also go Lakers, Warriors?
Yes, we both did. So we were wrong on that aspect.
So 3 for 4. Which game should we dive into first? I think the first one was the Celtics Wizards, I guess. So you kind of mentioned you're glad that the Celtics came out victorious. Yeah, Bradley Beal, you can tell that was a hamstring or just leg injury in general, was definitely bothering him. Turnaround, they ended up playing the Pacers, which probably the most surprising. I guess we'll say the Grizzlies win. But I mean, the way the Pacers without Karis LeVert handled the Hornets, I mean, LaMelo Ball didn't have a great game, right? He didn't really get the scoring going. I'm not sure what his final stat line was, but do you think, obviously his first playoff game, is there any room for criticism on LaMelo Ball, or is he still young? Were we not expecting too much from him in his, inaugural playoff game?
Well, I think the playoffs are a different beast. Obviously he, played pretty well for that game. I just think that the Pacers came in and they were just widely disrespected. They weren't even an afterthought in most people's minds, and they came out and played their game, which I think kind of took away from the Hornets game, which is kind of that slow grind type of basketball where they're going to beat you up, they're going to play physical defense, and I think the Hornets are more of a run and gun team, and I think that they kind of wore them down. So I don't think that this is obviously the last time we'll see Melo in the playoffs, and I think it's only going to get better for him from here. Guys are going to want to come play with him, like Gordon Hayward did this offseason. Maybe get some more guys. Rozier's going to be better. But I can't take that away from him, especially he rushed himself to come back from that injury. That was the biggest thing. Dude is just a grinder, wanted to come back and play in the playoffs right after a bad injury.
Yeah, no, that's probably the main, I guess, impact of the criticism of LaMelo Ball coming back maybe prematurely from that injury. You can tell he definitely battled through that, wanted to be out there with his guys. But so I got the final stat line, Tyler. Played 27 minutes, went 4 for 14 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, 4 for 6 free throws. He only had 1 rebound and 4 assists. His plus minus 35. So definitely not a great showing from the rookie. But like you mentioned, most likely, I think definitely we'll see him back in the playoffs. The Hornets have a nice young squad. I think they're gonna, they have some good management, right? The ownership is good. I think it's gonna attract players. They're only gonna build off this. So room for improvement. The next playing game, we already talked about that. So then we had Spurs versus Grizzlies. I don't know. This one for me was kind of a toss-up. You got a younger Spurs team, some new faces on the roster. I mean, Rudy Gay is really the only veteran I can think of. They got DeJounte Murray,
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar. So, but I mean, it's not your traditional Spurs team, right? For many years, we had the trio of Duncan, Ginobili, Parker. Popovich is still there, but I mean, talk
Damn,
about
Rudy Gay does still play. I was like, wait, does Rudy Gay play in the NBA still? Fuck, my guy's.
He's more
He's
of
only
a
34 too. He's young.
yeah. He's been here for a while, but for this one, I think the only thing worth mentioning, I was gonna say two word, but it's a name. It's Ja Morant. Went completely berserk, put the Grizzlies on his back. I mean, do you think? I will get to it. Obviously, we saw what happened this weekend in the official first round. You think Ja Morant is kind of ascending to that next level of being a top tier player, a franchise guy, if you will?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, the guy is he's an assassin. He makes the Grizzlies fun to watch. He plays great defense. He hustles to, the ball. He, wants the ball in big situations. I mean, even the game last night against Utah, I know that's kind of skipping ahead. He was, the reason why they, were even in that game most of the time, besides maybe Dylan Brooks. But, he absolutely killed it stat line wise. I mean, if anything, this weekend of basketball or this past week was a great week for younger players. The next generation, past LeBron, past AD, all these guys in the playoffs showing out. I mean, this is Ja Morant's first time in the playoffs, and he's looking like, he was born for this, which he probably was. I mean, the guy is just riveting to watch. Very fun.
No, I mean, this is going back, obviously. I knew he had this raw athletic ability. I'm not sure how well it was going to translate to the NBA, but he's far surpassed and superseded my expectations, at least at this point. A young Grizzlies team, not too many guys around him. They brought in Kyle Anderson, which I don't know if you can quite consider him a veteran yet, but he played good ball. Like you mentioned, Dylan Brooks.
Well, I think Kyle Anderson, speaking of Kyle Anderson, he has some very good veteran plays that, when I was watching the game last night, you could tell that he played for Coach Popovich. Just smart decision making. He doesn't do anything sexy, but, he gets the job done. And Dylan Brooks, I mean, honestly, that dude should be up for most improved player of the year if he's not already.
I saw the graphic. I'm not sure if he was on there. I know Julius Randle, can't think of who else. But, yeah, I mean, veteran play or just in slow motion, Kyle Anderson, the guy has, his unique play style, played good ball. So they won a close one against the Spurs. And then for the next round of the play-in game, the Wizards just manhandled the Pacers. I'm not sure if Bradley Beal went and got some kind of secret massage that just magically healed his leg. He looked great. Russell Westbrook, 18 points, 15 assists, 2 rebounds off from a triple-double. Mr. Triple-double, almost did it again. I mean, this I could have predicted. I didn't think the Pacers would be in this position. I thought the Hornets would have won. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you from this one, Tyler?
I mean, I think the Pacers or the Wizards, just finally showed out and, played their game of basketball, which is, run and gun, score, get Russell Westbrook the ball and get out of the way. And Bradley Beal showed up, like you said. But I mean, I just don't think that Pacers team was a team that, I could see in the playoffs. Like in the Western Conference, you had the Lakers, Warriors, and then the 9 seed was the Grizzlies. I could see those 3 teams in the playoffs. Once you got past, the Wizards and the Celtics, it was like, Hornets maybe, not really. I don't think that they could get past the Wizards like we said. So it was kind of like putting that finishing touch on because they deserve to be there.
Mm-hmm. So my fault, hand up. I kind of skipped a game. Warriors, Lakers, a close one.
Probably the best one.
Probably the best one. I don't know how I just overlooked it because you see these two going up head to head. You don't really think of it as a playing game. I mean, what can you say? LeBron, Curry, back and forth. And I mean, Curry was just having flashbacks of that Kyrie Irving shot in the finals. LeBron almost identical, gets a random kick out, kind of reminiscent, Tyler, if you remember my game tying shot back in JV against Scotia. Nah, you were on varsity at the time. I don't know if you.
It's like what? I don't even remember that.
There's footage. But... There's footage. I'll clip it and I'll show it the next episode. But I mean, big time shot from LeBron. Tyler, I don't know how, but I think LeBron has a higher percentage of step back 3-pointers from the logo than he does at the free throw line. Because this dude, you see him just getting his motion, swish. Somehow he gets up to the free throw line and he bricks every shot. But with that being said, they came through with the W, advancing. Anything special from this game? Obviously, Warriors missing Klay Thompson. I thought, if I could mention one thing, Jordan Poole, he's starting to come into his own. He had a good game. Almost ended LeBron's career with a poster dunk.
I mean, if there was anything that came from this game, it was the amount of memes that you saw of LeBron James laying on the floor, eye poked out, stuff like that, coming back. I know that didn't he do that again against the Suns? Either way. LeBron, I feel like every other game, it's like LeBron got hurt. LeBron's on the floor.
He should have played soccer. He's a great actor.
All I have to say is Steph Curry put up a game that proves that, he put the whole entire Warriors season on his back. Definitely, truly a candidate for MVP in my eyes. But, like they said, the Warriors, they said that next year is going to be a whole different beast when Klay Thompson is back. And, if I were in the West, I'd be scared to face that Warriors team, especially the way Steph Curry played by himself. But I think you also saw that the Lakers, aren't as good as people think. They are susceptible to losing, and they are susceptible to, getting scared, to possibly lose because of how, I would say, almost dysfunctional they're playing right now. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. I think Anthony Davis definitely has to step up. He's been pretty underwhelming thus far throughout the play-in games in the first round of the playoffs. So then we'll transition the final game of the play-ins. Memphis Grizzlies 117 over 112 the Golden State Warriors, which was probably the biggest shock of all these play-in games. Ja Morant, 46 minutes, 35 points, 6 assists. What is his total rebounds? 6 rebounds. All around solid effort. On the other end, Curry dropping 39, plus 4. He had 5 assists. Just wasn't enough. Do you think, Tyler, that the Warriors kind of got a little tired in that Lakers game? So do you discredit the Warriors? I don't know what the word I'm thinking of, but how ready to play they were, or is it more of a testament to the Grizzlies and Ja Morant of how well they played?
I mean, I think Ja Morant deserves a lot of credit for in the Grizzlies, but I do feel like Steph Curry, laid everything out on the line against the Lakers. That was a huge game, and big games like that get talked about over radio stations, TV shows, all throughout the sports world become exhausting to you mentally. And then you have to come back and face a team that's as hungry as the Lakers are, as hungry probably as any other team in the West, and Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. I mean, that's a tough back-to-back right there for the Warriors. And, like I said, I don't think Steph Curry, could put the team more on his back than he did this playing game series that he had. So, I mean, obviously, shout out to Steph Curry and the way he played, but, definitely a bigger shout out to the Grizzlies. Being a 9 seed, technically out of the playoffs in most NBA standards, and, coming out and beating a decent Spurs team, but an even better Warriors team.
Yeah, I mean, you could speculate. I was kind of putting that thought in your head of how the Warriors might have been a little tired. But at the end of the day, you got to give credit when credit's due. Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant played a solid basketball game. And, as we'll talk about in a little bit, they're showing that they deserve to be in this playoffs. One thing I was going to say, as far as the Warriors, it's definitely from a fan standpoint, it's got to be exciting and promising, I guess is a better word, to see how well they played at the end of the year. You know, they were 1 game really away from making the playoffs. But, you know, you would say they're a better team with Klay Thompson coming back and being healthy. I think there's a lot of question marks whether if Klay and or Steph will even be on the roster next season, right? I think these guys are either going to be free agents or maybe they're restricted and they've been in trade talks. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a brand new Warriors roster coming in next season.
Well, I think they're gonna run it back next season with Clay and Steph. To kind of go back to their roots. You got Draymond still too, and I think that if it doesn't work out then yeah, obviously they're gonna start a rebuild. But it's just insane. They have probably the best shooter. They have the best 2 shooters in NBA history all time, I think, personally, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And, you get those 2 guys on the court together. You think Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal are scary. I mean, these guys, they could beat a LeBron Cavs team easily, even without KD. They don't need KD.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, they definitely proven they don't need KD. They did it before. They're kind of showing flashes they can do it after. But, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be some kind of change. They got some young players playing well, like I mentioned, Jordan Poole. They got Wiseman. I mean, Kent Bazemore, I don't know how he's still even in the league right now. I thought he was overseas. But anyways, they're going to have to bring in some more veteran guys. Tyler, we'll get into the first game over the weekend of the official first round of the playoffs. Like I mentioned, we had a close one. We got some extra basketball. Went to OT. Miami Heat versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks end up pulling it out. A late shot, clutch shot by Chris Middleton in overtime. Tyler, I was going to mention playoff Jimmy, right? Jimmy Buckets almost pulling off the upset. But I can't even say that. The highest scorer on the Heat team, a Division III guy who started out his college career an hour and a half north of us, Tyler, in small town Williams, Massachusetts. 24 points for Duncan Robinson. He was 7 for 13 from 3 and 7 from 13 overall. All the guys shot was threes. 3 for 3 from the line. On the other end of things, Antetokounmpo, 26, Middleton, 27. Holiday had a good game with 20. From my standpoint, and I'll let you get your opinion after, I just kind of feel strongly about this. The Heat stars have to play like Heat stars. I mean, you got Trevor Ariza, who's in the starting lineup now. Not sure I necessarily agree with that. Dropping 8 points. Jimmy Butler, 17. Bam Adebayo, who was an all-star, right, this past year, 9 points. I mean, he did get 12 rebounds, but that's just not going to do it. I mean, Kendrick Nunn, Dragic had 25 off the bench. I don't know. The only standpoint I can say is that they played this bad and lost by 2 in overtime. I think the Heat will be okay. I think they'll figure it out. But, right now you can't argue with the fact that the Bucks are showing why they're a top seed.
See, I think that the Bucks didn't even play up to their level. And I think that the Bucks are going to probably take the Heat in 5. I don't think this is the same Heat team that you saw last year. Adebayo's not playing as like an MVP like he did last year in the finals, and you're not seeing, Tyler Hero. Where is Tyler Hero in this? Tyler Hero was
too
the
busy
guy
on Instagram
that everybody talked about last year. This guy was, the next best thing. He's nowhere to be found even throughout the whole entire season. They need to get guys other than Jimmy Buckets involved in this offense. They need to get back to, playing that Heat basketball that they did last year in the NBA Finals where they were physical. I don't think that they're going to beat this Bucks team. Antetokounmpo is not going to lose in the first round. He's not going to roll over easy. Chris Middleton, obviously hitting that shot, but, he's no slump. I think Eric Bledsoe's their point guard, right? That guy's playing out of his mind this year as well, too.
I actually just had to look this up. I think he was part of that Drew Holiday trade because he's now on the Pelicans. They started DiVincenzo, which I guess that's who they're going with. They got PJ Tucker and Pat Connaughton off the bench.
Wait, so they have Drew Holiday as their
Yeah.
which I love Drew Holiday. I think he's widely underrated in the NBA, and especially helps facilitate guys' skills a little bit more, like an Antetokounmpo. I mean, honestly, I'm very unexcited about this whole entire series between the Heat and the Bucks. I really don't like either team. I don't think that they're fun to watch. And honestly, in my opinion, if I had one, I don't think Antetokounmpo is like as great as everybody thinks he is. Yeah, he's good, but I mean,
Yeah,
he doesn't put my ass in my own seat.
right.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, he's not a flashy guy. He kind of, he's got hustle points or hustle stats if you want to go there. Yeah, he's a franchise player. I think he would really, really flourish if he had, another all-star on that team, which, okay, Chris Middleton, I kind of view him as more of a role player, I guess, if you will. Tough to argue with that, 27 points. But anyways, yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. Drew Holiday, solid guy. He really facilitates a lot, gets other guys involved. I think if they make at least a deep playoff run, Tyler, if the Bucks make to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think a lot has to. Well, right, shaking your head. I'm saying if. I'm saying.
Well, who they have to face whoever wins this has to face the Nets. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I don't think it's like that, is it? Is it a fixed?
Isn't it
Is it a fixed bracket? I thought just the highest seed plays the lowest seed to win.
Man, the NBA's got me all fucked up.
Yeah, it could be wrong. I don't know.
I mean, are you making it up or are you telling me the truth? Cause
let's see. NBA playoff bracket. All I was gonna say is you kind of have to give Drew Holiday a lot of credit because with Bledsoe they're a solid team, playoff team, but they really never hit that next step of upper echelon. Let's see, I'm not sure. Is it? I don't even know what the Google search is.
NBA 2021 playoff bracket.
It all just says TBD. Doesn't say, winner of or next lowest.
Right. Regardless, if it's traditional, they have to face the Nets. And honestly, whoever they face next probably isn't the best in their favor. I'm just not sold on this Bucks team. I don't think that they're as great as everybody thinks they are. And honestly, like you said, I don't think Giannis is going to take that next step to go into an NBA Finals, to going to even a conference finals without that player that's going to, take away some of the eyes from him.
Mm-hmm.
Say he had a Devin Booker on his team. Imagine how insane that team would be. Imagine if he had a Jimmy Butler or a Kyrie. He would have the opportunity to do so, but because it's him by himself in today's NBA, it's just not going to work. Chris Middleton, I mean, that guy, I think he's a great player. I really do. But I think the Bucks are like the best situation for that guy to ever happen to him because, that allows him to score 30 points a game playing for the Bucks. If he played for any other team, I don't think he would be that as good as he is.
He's probably one of those guys, right? He's probably one of those guys where he's, playing well in this specific situation, but if you got a big check to go be the guy or, a bigger role somewhere else, he might not live up to the hype. So
It's like playing Y basketball on Sundays to going to play modified basketball, the next season. It's not the same, play.
No, not at all. A lot less one-on-one ISOs. But so you were correct, Tyler. There is a fixed bracket for the NBA. It's not like the NFL. There's no reseeding, as the articles are calling it, where the higher seed plays the lowest available seed, much like how the NFL is. So yeah, winner of that game, like you mentioned, is gonna most likely, right? It's not for sure yet. They still got to finish their series against the Celtics, but they'll most likely face the Brooklyn Nets. Next game, probably.
Which today I say bring it. I mean, I love either one of those teams.
Right.
I mean, we did have a hard time against the Bucks this season, but we also didn't have everybody that we have.
Right. Now, this playoff basketball. I mean, look at the Knicks and the Hawks. The Knicks went 3-0 against them this season, and of course, in the playoffs, 0-1 thus far. We'll get into that. Next game, maybe the biggest surprise probably right up there with the Grizzlies. Mavericks 113 over the Clippers 103. I mean, Luka Doncic triple double. This guy, I don't know if you can call him underrated, Tyler, but I think he just kind of blew up a lot quicker than all of us expected. He's doing things that you'd expect from, a fifth year max contract, like stud guy. He's putting up. He's in the ranks of LeBron, right? Kobe, Russell Westbrook, all these all-time stats and records. He's putting up crazy numbers. Kawhi, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Not enough. If you're the Clippers right now, should you be worried about this young, prosperous Mavericks team?
It's tough to say, honestly, because this is another series that has me kind of indifferent, because I think you put Kawhi Leonard on Luka Doncic and, 4 games out of 7, he's going to shut him down, So I don't know. I didn't see if he was the one guarding him, but I think it's kind of that time where you got to be like, hey, Kawhi, you're one of the best defenders in the league. You need to get on him. You need to shut him down, because honestly, past Luka Doncic, who do they have? I mean, Porzingis, but he's not the same Kristaps that used to play in NY. I think this series could swing either way. I could see the Clippers coming back. They definitely have the star power. But, I mean, I also think that the Mavs are hungrier. They want it more. And Luka Doncic is, obviously, like I said, all the young players stepping up this past weekend in basketball, he was one of them. I mean, the guy is the white LeBron. And the way I look at it, dude just is very good with the basketball, gets his teammates involved. And, most of the time he's passing first. But, you see his points come up more on the stat line.
Yeah. So I didn't watch this whole game. I'm not sure what the defensive scheme was, like you mentioned, if Kawhi was guarding him. But the one clip I watched, Tyler, Patrick Beverley was guarding him, and he just played bully ball. And probably even more impressive than his stat line, the fact that he talked shit to Pat Beverley and he didn't chirp him back.
In English.
Right. Well, that too, get a little extra gold star next to that. But, I mean, Pat Beverley, I don't even know if he enjoys playing basketball or just getting out there and talking shit to guys. He had nothing to say back to Luka when he said he was, word for word, too fucking small. He bodied him, got an easy bucket, showed him who the dominant player was. The only other thing I was looking at, Paul George, 23 points, 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3. I don't know if you can put a lot of blame on him. It's probably a pretty average stat line for him. He could probably be viewed as an X factor, Tyler. If he does go off, for 30 points, you got to imagine with Kawhi being consistent, they're going to be pretty well. But I'm just looking at the support guys, Marcus Morris Sr., Zubac, Patrick Beverley, Nick Batum, Rondo.
Let me put it this way.
They don't really have a lot of guys that can put up points. If it's going to be 100 points scored between those guys, I'm not sure they come out with many wins in this series.
Let me just say this. The Clippers are about 5 to 7 years too late with this team that they have. If this team was 5 to 7 years ago, they would be an NBA Finals, candidate, I would say. That's how good those guys were back then. I think Kawhi Leonard obviously is a superstar, but ever since he won the ring with Toronto, obviously it's not the same guy that we're talking about, has flashes of it. He's a great player, don't get me wrong, but there's just guys that don't mesh together, I feel. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are ever going to be the duo like James Harden and KD, or like a LeBron and AD, or, essentially stuff like that. And I'm just not excited about this Clippers team. I don't think they're as good as people think they are.
No, I think they had their chance. Last year, maybe the year before that. I don't know. They got their hands full with the Mavericks right now. The next matchup of the weekend, Tyler, I'm sure one that you're quite excited about, Celtics versus the Nets. Now, I was watching this one. Like I said, I don't think this final score is really indicative of how close the game was throughout, because the Celtics were up 10 points kind of at the end of the first quarter. Is that right? Maybe early second, and then the Nets went on a run. But I remember seeing like 32-22 at one point. But then the skill and the depth of the Nets took over 104-93. Let me bring up this box score real quick. We had Durant, 32 points, Kyrie, 29, Harden, 21, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. What else do I need to say? I don't know.
God.
I don't know.
When you have guys that score 32, 29, and then 20, that's just tough to beat a team that has 3 guys that are gonna do that. And I'm gonna say I'm not even surprised that they were down. After seeing their starting lineup, they finally had, Blake, James Harden, Kyrie, and KD all in the same lineup for the first time against the Celtics in the playoffs. Like, this was their first time that their whole entire squad was together, that, everybody's talking about these playoff guys, these guys that are MVPs, stuff like that. And they took them a little bit of time, but they got the engine running. And once the engine ran, I think the next game, I'm not going to say it, but I think the next game is going to be a serious...
Don't say those 2 words. Or you could test your mythic abilities if you want. Because I feel
I
like
might as well make it interesting, Austin. I think the next game against the Celtics at home, game 2 tomorrow in Brooklyn, even though they had to sell tickets half off for everybody in New York, had to separate them vaccinated and unvaccinated, it is going to be a shit-pumping game of the week.
Wow, he said the 2 words. If you missed it, Tyler's shit-pumping games, they always go reverse of what he thinks. So if there is some kind of magical ability that Tyler's withholding, the Celtics are going to win this game. And Tyler, that is how you know that you have something going on, because if the Nets lose this next game, I don't know how. I mean, what we got here? 82 points between their 3 stars, 11 points from the other 2 starters. I mean, Blake Griffin played 20 minutes and he hit 1 free throw. He didn't even shoot a field goal. But, on the other end, Jason Tatum, 22 points, Kemba, 15, Marcus Smart, 17. I just don't know. One, I don't know how they stop all 3 of those guys on the Nets. 2, if you trade off KD, or, you can throw in Jeff Green to play defense on Tatum, I don't know how you're going to expect him to put up, 50 points like he did in the playoff or play-in game. No Jaylen Brown, like I said. Fournier, Kemba, Marcus Smart, they're going to have to step up.
It's just so tough, because you have Jeff Green, who's, 30-something years old, playing probably the best basketball of his life. Bruce Brown off of the bench. Joe Harris, probably one of the best 3-point shooters statistically in the NBA season this year, besides Steph Curry, had the highest shooting percentage. I mean, they're all around this team. Mike James, coming overseas, was a guy that was averaging 20+ overseas, signs a 10-day contract, then stays throughout the whole entire season. It's just like every single one of these guys is just so much better than if you put them across from every other one of the guys on the other team. You say this is your star, my star is 10 times better. You say this is your 6th man, my 6th man's 10 times better. It's just tough to compete with a team like this.
Do you think, obviously just throwing random speculations out there, Tyler, but obviously you don't need much other help than the trio that I aforementioned of Harden, Durant, and Irving. But do you think for those guys like Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, later in their careers, kind of ring chasing, do you feel like there's just the energy and the vibe is like, we're going to win this championship? So like there's a little bit extra internal motivation for us to play our best basketball?
Of course. I think when you surround yourself with people who are naturally great and naturally winners, and obviously when you're winning a lot, it changes the mood, It's not like this isn't the same James Harden that was with the Rockets. This isn't the same KD that was with, the Warriors or was with the Thunder. And this same with every single guy that was on this team. They're in a better headspace now. Obviously, they know that this is a temporary thing because the Nets can't keep all these guys. So they're gonna make the most of this season. They're gonna, do everything that they possibly can to win a championship. And honestly, if you think that the Nets aren't the number one contender to win the NBA championship, all bias aside from me and full bias, then you're an idiot.
Well, you heard it here first. Throwing out the I word to all those people. Yeah, I mean the Nets, they're by far just everyone's pick for the Eastern Conference. I feel like the last game of the day on Saturday, Portland Trailblazers 123, Denver Nuggets 109. I'm not sure what time it tipped off, Tyler, but I do know that it's Dame time, right? 34 points, 13 rebounds, plus 25 on the plus minus. CJ McCollum added 21. Melo 18 off the bench. I didn't see that. That's pretty good for Melo. 4 for 8 from 3. That's really all you got to ask for him. 6 for 12, 50% from the field. On the other side, Jokic 34, and I just remembered another player in the running for most improved player of the year. Michael Porter Jr. dropped 25. 1 for 10 from 3-point though. That's going to have to change, especially now with Jamal Murray obviously not playing the series. Austin Rivers got the start at guard, 33 minutes, 6 points. I don't know. Is there any way without Murray, Tyler, that you can see the Nuggets winning this series? Because if Dame and McCollum just keep playing consistent, I don't really see how they lose.
I mean, it's tough for a team in the West to lose your star player or one of your star players and, be consistent the way that you were in the regular season. I think, losing Jamal Murray is a huge blow. And I think if the Nuggets get past the Trailblazers, which I think is still a good possibility, given how good Jokic is playing this season, almost averaging a triple-double. They got Michael Porter Jr., who's pretty consistent. I just think it's going to be tough for them, and I don't think that they're going to make it this far if they get past this Trailblazers team. I mean, honestly, it's the same old story with the Trailblazers. A high seed, Damian Lillard balling out in the playoffs. It's just, what else can they do to get past the norm for them? CJ McCollum to play better than Dame Lillard. I need Melo to show that he's a veteran and to come out and play, the way Melo plays in the playoffs. This is a toss up for me. If Jamal Murray was here, I think it would be a sweep. But now you don't have Jamal Murray. Who's gonna stop Damian Lillard? I mean,
yeah, clearly not Austin Rivers or Campazzo, whoever that guy is at the other guard slot. So Tyler, I think this is almost just the series is a testament to how the NBA has transitioned to more small ball. Right, you got Dame Lillard, McCollum on one side. Clearly the better guards. But on the other side, you got Jokic at the center, who's, potentially going to be MVP this season. Michael Porter Jr. at the 3. But Aaron Gordon, right, who maybe he's not as good as he was in his, past years in Orlando. But I'd say they easily have the better big men. Portland still ran away with this one. I think they, probably a testament to their little bit better bench. They got Melo, Cantor, who didn't really do much. Simmons were on the other end. You have an older Millsap, JaMychal Green, Jay Green, not Jeff Green. I had to click on that name real quick. Just I was like, wait, there's 2 of them? No, but yeah, I don't know. Unless you stop Dame and CJ from going off, I don't really see how the Nuggets are gonna come out with this one.
If I had to guess, I would say that the Nuggets win in 7.
In 7?
I think this is probably going to be one of the back and forth series that you'll see. Like I said before, if Jamal Murray was here, it'd be different. But, Dame really needs to get out of the first round. He just really needs to get out of Portland. If I'm Damian Lillard, I'm sick of losing in the first round and the second round in the playoffs. You gotta adapt to what's in the NBA, and everybody is, joining teams. Dame Lillard needs to figure out if, Portland's it for him, because honestly, I don't think that they love you that much, my guy.
Yeah, so part one to my rebuttal of what you just said. I feel like they win in the first round, but then they immediately lose in the next round. I'm not sure. Have they made the Western Conference Finals at all?
No, never.
No. So, yeah, they're usually a one-and-done type team. I don't know. I feel like part two to what you were saying, I don't see him leaving. I think he's a lifer there in Portland. I think he's done a lot with the community, that fan base. And, he's definitely a prideful type of guy. I don't really see him as going off on his own journey, leaving CJ, trying to go ring chasing later on in his career. But time will tell. So Sunday, the first game, 76ers 125, Wizards 118. I don't know what the spread was, but I feel like if there was a predicted outcome, this probably would have been it. Tobias Harris, they're showing here, actually had the highest points on the 76ers, 37. Bradley Beal had 33, 10 rebounds. Pull up the box score real quick. Westbrook, 16, 14 assists, 5 rebounds. So Brody did not get the triple-double. Let's see, Embiid had 30. Simmons only had 6, but he had 15 rebounds, 15 assists. I don't know. I feel like the Sixers, Tyler, not that they're underrated, but they kind of been under the radar. Embiid didn't play every game. He was hurt a lot this season. Still in the MVP talks. Ben Simmons, he's kind of finding his role within this team. Then you got Tobias Harris, who's playing like, I don't know, he's starting to play up to the money that they paid him. On the other end, Beal did his thing. Brody didn't. What do you think from this series?
I think it shows, that this Sixers team isn't as strong as people think. I think the Wizards, even with Russell Westbrook,
you think it shows the Sixers aren't as strong?
Yeah,
so?
I mean, I think that. So, what was Russell Westbrook's stat line?
5 rebounds, 14 assists, 16 points. 7 for 17. He didn't shoot, right, a traditional Russell Westbrook type.
And they only lost by 7. I mean, you have Russell Westbrook not scoring in the 30s in the playoffs. I think that's an issue, obviously. I think that guy needs to be your leading scorer at all times. But I just don't think that this Wizards or the Sixers team is as strong as people think. Ben Simmons isn't, as great as, people think he should be. Joel Embiid obviously have an MVP season. And obviously I have all the love in the world for Tobias Harris. I think he's a great role player, a great 3 behind Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But, I don't think this team gets past, the conference finals by no means. If they do, they're meeting the Nets and they're getting mollywopped. I mean, I just don't think that this team is as good as people think. I don't even know how to explain it. Just don't. I
don't think. Do people really think they're that good though?
I mean, they're the 1 seed, so people think that they're automatically great.
Yeah, but everyone's talking about the Nets, kind of like the same type deal in the Western Conference. I mean, the Lakers made it to the playoffs through the play-in games, and I think they still have the best odds, to go to the NBA Finals.
I just don't like the way that Sixers play. They seem dysfunctional to me. I mean, if I'm the Sixers, I'm getting rid of Ben Simmons. And I feel like I'm talking a lot of GM talk, like, oh, let's get rid of this guy, let's trade this guy, let's get this guy. But I just don't think Ben Simmons is the right fit for the Sixers if they're trying to move past where they're at. And I think you keep Joel Embiid and you keep Tobias Harris and, add a different point guard and, maybe get a different star. And I think you have a Sixers team that's unstoppable because the big man position is dead and gone in the NBA. You got Jokic and Joel Embiid, who's leading the MVP race this year, which is crazy to me because they transition themselves outside of the paint. They're almost as deadly as outside the paint as they are in, but when they're in the paint, they're killing everybody because everybody's playing small ball.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. So the next game we're moving into, like I said, Lakers. If not the
I could
top...
see, by the way, the last game, I could see the Wizards, stealing too.
Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. But I just don't think, it's going to take a lot from Beal and Westbrook, and I don't think they can do that, 4 out of 7 games if it came to that. So the Lakers, Suns, like I said, Tyler, Lakers, I think they're still, if not the top, one of the top teams, at least, odds wise, for a better to represent the Western Conference. Can't really call it an upset, though. The Suns coming in with the higher seed. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, Tyler, Anthony Davis, I'm not sure what's going on with him. Minus 18 for the plus minus. He was 5 for 16, 13 points. 3 for 5 from the free throw, probably on par. LeBron, 18 points, 3 for 7 from 3, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Not a traditional LeBron game. On the other side, Devin Booker is showing people why he is one of the most underrated players in this league and why he should be viewed as one of the top scorers alongside, Durant and Antetokounmpo, Jokic. 34 points in his playoff debut, 50% from the floor, 3 for 7 from 3-point, 5 for 6 from the line. But Tyler, if you're watching the game, the stat lines may not give you all the idea of what happened. He was clutch down the stretch. They kept going back to him. He was being double teamed, triple teamed, and whether he was scoring or making some clutch passes, he was really doing it all for the Suns, especially with Chris Paul being injured.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talk about how underrated Devin Booker is all the time. I think the thing that really changed my mind on how truly great of a player Devin Booker is, and it's something so small that many people probably don't even notice. You have the last shot in the game or in a series in a fourth quarter or third quarter or second quarter. You have Chris Paul passing you the ball, say, hey, we're ISOing out of the way. I mean, that's Devin Booker. Like, you get that guy the ball, he's going to make it 5 times out of 10, I think. And obviously, I think, he did very well against the Lakers, didn't, come down to playing in his debut. And honestly, DeAndre Ayton, too. Dude balled out yesterday. I was very physical, made Anthony Davis, look like a baby. I think that the Suns are the real deal. And I think that they could possibly steal the series from the Lakers and give them an early exit.
Yeah, I mean, great start, obviously. Booker, he's going to have to stay consistent. A big factor is going to be Chris Paul, Tyler. You can tell he was battling through that injury. You mentioned playing basketball at the YMCA earlier. Chris Paul looked like he was out the wide, dribbling off his knee, his forearm. He was shot putting it. He kind of muscled it through a few shots in. Some fadeaways, but if he can't play, 70%, I think the Lakers are going to target that. Anthony Davis, I think he turns around. He gets out of his slump, if you will. I don't think DeAndre Ayton is going to outshine him more games than not throughout this series. LeBron, only 18 points. I'm not sure if he's in zero dark 23 or whatever he calls it yet on his social media, but he's going to have to try something.
And he's going to have to stop, getting hurt every, quarter. I feel like he's injured every time I look at the screen.
I will say, we talked about the eye injury, right? That was the other game against the Warriors. Not sure that was really as bad as he made it seem. Live reaction to the shoulder injury with the Chris Paul tie-up, I was like, oh, come on. Because I thought he was acting like he fell on his shoulder. And I'm like, dude pretty much braced himself. But on a replay, you saw Chris Paul, CP3, kind of tangle his arm. So when, Tyler, you go up and you're putting all your strength and someone's yanking down on it, I could see how you could tweak it, right? LA LeBron, probably the best actor in the NBA. But I will say that one was justified.
I mean, we'll see when Space Jam 2 comes out. But also, Chris Paul has a lower center of gravity, so, him pulling down on a high, I mean, it's just science.
No, for sure. That's physics right there. Not my best subject. Moving on to, I don't know if I can say the most hyped game, but with everyone making this out, the Knicks, first time in the playoffs in 11 years, the reopening MSG for 15,000 people, which is like 75% capacity, I think. I mean, my only takeaway, Julius Randle didn't really have a great game, but as far as, a fan of the NBA and not necessarily someone that has specific ties to either of these teams, great basketball game, right? Hawks were up early on for the most part. You get in the third and fourth quarter, the Knicks had a 5-7 point lead at one point, back and forth at the very end. But Trae Young, I mean, he's just proving why he's, like I said, Devin Booker, all those other guys, KD, one of the best scorers in the league. I mean, no one on the Knicks could guard and D up Trae Young one-on-one. That last shot that he had to win the game, for whatever reason, Thibodeau put Frank Ntilikina on him. Maybe he's a good defender, but he also didn't play, I don't think, any minutes prior to that. He's going in there with stiff legs off the bench. Trae Young cooked him, got to his spot, hit a nice little floater. And, MSG went from sounding like a grade 4 earthquake to then sounding like, you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, or like a modified girls volleyball game.
Yes.
But I mean, they don't call him Ice Tray for no reason. The guy is cold. He's mean with it. And honestly, the Hawks were looking kind of lackluster until, Trae took over himself. You kind of saw that turnover in the third quarter. He just started taking over. He was like, hey, Kevin Huerter, I know you're from New York, but let me do this. I got this. But no, it was playoff basketball in MSG it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a thing every single year. It's great to have it back. D Rose playing like vintage D Rose. I thought he was about to have the game winner right there, and I was so hyped. And I'm not even a Knicks fan.
That would have been crazy.
The one thing I will say, Alec Burks, Big Bucket Burks, that's what I'm gonna call him from the series on. Played out of his mind. Julius Randle, though, man, you gotta step up. I know you're most improved player this year, or going to be, but I mean. It's just you got that last play, that inbound pass obviously was too high, but I'm thinking to myself, why are you inbounding it to Randle when Burks is having a better shooting game and Randle's catching it on the three? It makes no sense to me. He's shooting a fadeaway. Why not have someone come around? Even D Rose, have D Rose shoot the three, or Burks. I just didn't understand that last play call by Thibodeau. And honestly, I think he was outcoached, and I think the defense for Thibodeau in this playoff game just wasn't there, which it normally has been.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, Tyler Huerter, 30 minutes away, from 30 minutes away from where we grew up. Every time he was shooting, I was like, oh, all right, hit that one, but then, missed the next one. I was kind of rooting for him, but I wanted the Knicks to win. Julius Randle, 6 for 23 from the floor. Absolutely egregious. I don't know if he just got caught up in the moment, in the limelight, the whole energy. Really, his first, I don't think is his first playoff game? Anyways, first playoff game as being the guy. Didn't really live up to the hype. RJ Barrett, the only other starter to get in double-digit figure. 6 points from Reggie Bullock, 6 from Nerlens Noel, who did play pretty well on the defensive side of the ball. Like you said, Alec Burks, 27 off the bench. Hit a lot of clutch shots down the stretch. Quickly, only played 21 minutes. I'd like to see his, play time get up a little bit higher than Elfrid Payton.
On that, by the way. I mean, Quickly, he needs to be a starter. He needs to be the sixth man off the bench. That guy comes in and he brings up the energy. That one shot by the logo. Oh my God, I was hyped for that one.
Yeah, he stepped right into it. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd rather see. I mean, Payton. I don't know. He's decent. He started the game, only played 8 minutes. D Rose with 38. I don't know. Maybe give those 8 minutes to Quickly. Who knows how much the game could transition from there. So we are at the top of the hour. We got one game left. We're going to talk about quickly, Tyler, so we're not cutting into Danny NASCAR too much. Grizzlies versus the Jazz. 112-109 Grizzlies with the clear upset. I mean, the 8 seed, lowest seed versus the top seed. Donovan Mitchell, though, Tyler, did not play for the Jazz. I guess, there was like a coaching decision. Obviously, he was injured, but the coaches came up with that last decision for him not to go. Huge factor in this one, clearly losing by 3 points. Let's see, Ja Morant dropped 26 for this one. 11 for 21, 4 assists, nothing crazy. On the other side of the ball, Bogdanovic had himself a game, 29 points, 4-11 from 3. I mean, I'm not worried if I'm a Jazz fan. You get Donovan Mitchell back. They're going to show why they're the number 1 overall seed. I mean, I feel like John Morant might steal one more, but for me, at this point, I'm going to say Jazz 4-2 final.
I think it's actually Jazz 4-1. I think that the Grizzlies, won their only game. You'll see why when Donovan Mitchell comes back for game 2. And I think the reason why they lost by 3 instead of winning that game was Rudy Gobert was playing in foul trouble the whole entire game. Took a lot out of their defense. The guy's playing statistically the best defensive season in NBA history. Bojan Bogdanovic, former Brooklyn Nets great, showed out. But, John Morant, like I was saying earlier, came out, driving to the basket really well, getting Dillon Brooks involved. Kyle Anderson, a lot of smart plays. Jonas Valanciunas, had a great game. Not statistically, but getting Rudy Gobert out, he did, probably had the best performance out of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Backtrack a little bit, Tyler. That now that we said the name, kind of reminded me. But his brother, was it Bogdan for the Hawks? 18, but
actually, I don't think they're related.
Really?
Yes.
You're telling me there's 2 people named Bogdanovich in the NBA and they're not related? Oh my god.
I mean, that's like saying John Smith and somebody else with the last name Smith aren't related.
What? No shot. I mean, those last names, yes, maybe in a different country.
They're not related at all.
Wow. That's incredibly shocking news to me. I would have bet my life on it. But anyways, that wraps up the NBA. Real quick, Tyler, a couple minutes. Just shout out Phil Mickelson. I'm not sure how this dude does what he does. He misses the cut. He gets a 10-11 on one hole. And what was it? The major or the Masters.
Yeah.
Comes back. He wins the PGA Championship. Did you watch this at all? What do you think of the lefty in this performance?
I loved Phil Mickelson. I was vibing with him all weekend, especially when he said, his winning formula was coffee, calves, mixed with some bombs. That's going to equal some victory. Thumbs up, to Phil at 50, obviously the oldest person to win a major. I will say that I think Brooks Koepka should have won it. But he had a lot of stupid, shots and a lot of, misfortunate things that happened to him, along with, I'm going to butcher his name, but that Oostfafed guy from South Africa.
Louis Oosthuizen?
Yeah, but, Phil Mickelson deserved it. Dude his one drive was like almost 350. I mean, at 50 years old, if I hit it 250, I'll be happy.
No, I think I was reading something on Bleacher Report. The first thing was, like you mentioned, like Koepka bombed 350, and then Mickelson comes up, hits at 366. But also, did you see the bit about how his mom was texting? Mickelson's mom was texting his sister, like, text Philip. She calls him Philip. Tell him to just play safe. She's saying play for pars. I mean, you can tell, still at this stage in his career, she's dialed in, watching her son play, and win another major championship.
I think the thing that would have been greater is if he hit that putt before he hit the putt to technically win it. If he hit that long putt, oof.
That would have been pretty sexy.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this leaderboard, my guy Ricky Fowler finishing T8. Didn't make the cut for the Masters, but he's back.
And with the mustache.
I'm still waiting on him to win a major, Tyler. I don't know if it's gonna happen at this point in his career. I think he maybe he'll squeeze the.
I think he's the most overrated golfer in golf, but that's just me.
Overrated? I mean
he's got every sponsorship under the sun yet. When's the last time he's won a major?
Well, he never has. But I mean, one year he finished like top 3 in all 4 of the majors. I mean, if you look at his points, how they go, like the FedEx points, he's up there. But yeah, I don't know. My guy Ricky still looks good in some bright orange on Sundays. So last bit, Tyler. I don't know if you want to get into this, but for our new segment of what did we decide to call it? Something other than sports. Something other than sports. What do we got for this week? Oh, SOS. I like that.
I mean, you gotta.
Other than, oh yeah.
SOS. Shut up.
Okay. SOS. Please.
Well, you sing just like Drake. I mean, Drake winning Billboard's Artist of the Decade Something that's so dope, especially growing up from Drake's inception, before he signed with Young Money, or when he signed with Young Money, and then all the way up. I think it's definitely deserved. Probably, if I had to pick top 10 albums, Drake would have half of them, because the
Right.
dude he's an automatic banger. He just releases good songs after good songs, and we're still waiting on one. Drake, release it. You won Artist of the Decade. Now it's time to release the album.
He said that he's gonna release it like December, then January, and then he's like, all right, we gotta finish some stuff up. I don't know. At this point, we'll probably wait till the summer. But yeah, I mean, Tyler, it's just cool to see because Artist of the Decade, he's probably a once in a lifetime type musicians for us. Back in the day, people, they had the Beatles, they had Aerosmith, or Biggie, Tupac. Drake is our consummate musician, right? Performer. This is probably the main guy we'll see in our lifetime. He's breaking, 50 years worth of records, doing everything. He's singing, he's rapping, making pop songs, all this different stuff. I had one thought in my head, but I think I just lost it. We were talking about Drake, Certified Lover Boy. I don't know. Anyways, congrats to Drake winning the Artist of the Decade. And yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Favorite Drake song?
Favorite Drake song? I'm not sure. One of my favorites. I keep getting more favorites. I feel like he almost gets better. He's like fine wine. He gets better as time goes on. But Look What You've Done off the Take Care album. I really like that one. It was 09 in your basement. I'm in love with Nebby. He's hurting. I'm breathing heavy. Yeah. He's got the.
I don't think I have one. I would have to think about that one. I don't have one off the top
It's tough
of my
to
head,
pick a favorite.
The guy just has so many.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I would say the one with Lil Baby. That song just
That's
goes
fire
off.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but
What'd you think of his son, real quick?
cute as shit.
Yeah.
I hope my son looks like that.
If I have a son, I hope he looks half as good as that.
Dude's got
No.
more money. Dude shot out the womb having more money than I'll ever have in my whole entire lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was watching on Wikipedia as he was being born, and like his net worth pre-birth was 0. As soon as he came out, it was like $50 million. That's great. No, that was a complete lie.
Oh my god. I would have been like, Jesus. I believe that.
Yeah, I'm a good liar. I don't know if that's good or bad, but all right, we're cutting into Danny NASCAR. We got the racers lining up, starting their engines. Anything else? Last words for the lookers
Go
out
Nets.
there? Go Nets. Go Knicks. We'll see what happens. Danny NASCAR up right now. I'm back. Monday Night Gaming. Let's see if I can do this, Tyler. 11 EST, 8 PST my time. I think that was right.
Golf clap.
Until later. Adios.
Love you.